What's up, sickos? Welcome. We are at, you like that? What's up, sickos? It's Golf Sickos.
I like it.
We're at Puttery again here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We are all at Quail Hollow today. Soupy day, thick day, humid day. I was out on the golf course for a little bit today, and I turned to my man Alex Bush behind the mic, and I said, or behind the camera, and I said, this is why I can't live in the South.
Yeah, you could stand in the shade and feel the sweat dripping down your legs. But the good thing is that heat is presumably drying up the greens, and hopefully we get a little more firm, fiery test on the weekend, which we need. But
I will say, you know, we still have a bit of an unexpected top of the leaderboard. We got Johnny Vegas, who is Data Golf number 147. We've got Matt Fitzpatrick, who is Data Golf number 79. Obviously, Data Golf is what I use for world rankings, because world rankings are pretty... we got Matthew Pavone, Data Golf number 254. Matthew Pavone's last top 10 was at the U.S. Open last year. Matt Fitzpatrick's last top 10 was at the Memorial last year. We got Max Homa up there at -5. He's Data Golf number 166. His last top 10 was at the Wells Fargo last year. So we're going to talk about all these guys. We'll start with Johnny Vegas. So we didn't really know how he was going to... I'm with Alan Shipnuck, by the way, and I'm with Ben Buskovich, if you didn't pick up on that already. It was, we were curious to see how Vegas was gonna back it up. You're the Vegas correspondent. He was your guy. You went to Venezuela with him. You also picked him in our draft last night. Missed a very, very short putt, doubled the 18th to finish at 8 under. He shot 1 under today. I think all things considered, that was a pretty good follow-up.
Yeah, he played beautiful golf most of the day. I mean, it was impressive. Even he messed up a couple par fives. At least he left himself tap-ins. Like, he was just keeping the ball in front of himself. And that last putt, I feel like that was the first time in 2 days where we thought he was thinking about the lead, thinking about the score. It just wasn't a good stroke. It probably helps the tournament as a whole. If he was too deep into the red, you would say the guys at 1, 2, 3 under par might be too far back. But he brought a lot of people back into it emotionally. And but all in all,
for us, that double on 18 was for us.
It was for all of us.
Yeah.
But I thought he played well, and he didn't seem too bothered by the whole thing. Like, he was just calm, cool, and collected as always.
Still Friday, I will say, still Friday, and he kind of got out there early, which I think might have helped him. But he did get, Scott Fawcett. One of the things that our guy Scott Fawcett, our data analyst, always says is you got to be kind of lucky to win. He got an unbelievable break with his tee shot on the 16th. Let's roll that clip.
About it a few minutes ago. This is just a visually intimidating shot, and it's easy to do that.
Easy in the practice round.
Oh my goodness, he hit the rake.
How about that break right there?
He hit the rake.
That thing could have gone absolutely anywhere. Could have popped straight up in the air and gone in the water. Could have ricocheted right into the bunker. Instead, it goes to like 30 feet, and he makes a par. So, sometimes you need lucky breaks.
Well, something that Bob Rotella said to me in talking about Rory, but it applies to Johnny Vegas and anyone on the leaderboard, is that even the guy who wins makes a lot of mistakes across 4 rounds.
Think about Rory at the Masters, like on Sunday. I mean, he made like 10 mistakes.
Yeah, and so you can't overreact to the mistakes. They're just going to happen. And I think that Vegas, he got some of those out of his system. There's a couple loose swings, that last putt. I mean, maybe that'll wake him up and it'll put him into this mode tomorrow where I can't get complacent. I just have to stay in that zone that he had for 35 holes, and we'll see.
We'll see. No major success really in his career at all to speak of.
I have maybe an offensive question to ask you guys. Where does he finish?
I'd put the over-under on Johnny Vegas finish at T7.5. It's still pretty bunched up there. Like, Bryson's, 3 under, and he's probably way back in like 30th or something. But he's only 5 back. There's a lot. I mean, he shoots 76 tomorrow, and he's going to be T30 going into the last round.
40, yeah. I'll take the.
Well, he's your guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to win, but I don't think he's going to blow up. I'll say he'll finish top 5, but okay. I'm not convinced he's going to win.
It would be an awesome story. 40 years old, like you said. Some for all the guys who go to these sort of like blue chip high schools and colleges and break out right away. Country club kids. Vegas is sort of the opposite. So it would be awesome. In second, we've got 2 guys who chip cross-handed, Matthew Pavone and Matt Fitzpatrick. There they are. It looks so incredibly weird to my eye. Was this a thing? This wasn't really a thing back then, was it?
No, definitely not. I can't even look at that. That gives me the heebie-jeebies. But swing your swing, even around the greens.
Have you guys tried it?
I have not tried it. It's a good drill. I can sometimes drag the handle when I chip, so I've been told to do that as a drill, and I actually think that's how it started. I know that's how it started with Matt. He was doing it as a drill, and then really liked it, and he can actually do it up to like 50 or 60 yards.
Insane.
Yeah. So both of these guys though have not had good seasons at all. I mean, Pavone's been really, really, really struggling. And he won very quickly in his rookie year. And I love Pavone. He's probably my favorite French person that there is. And he just told me a really, really good story last year after the U.S. Open. He was playing with Bryson, and he had a putt on the last hole that was just inside of Bryson's par putt. And usually in that scenario, the guy kind of gets out of the way because they want to, they don't want to. They want to clear the stage for the winner.
Yeah, clean it up, get out of the
He
way.
said Bryson said to him, "You go putt first, or I'll putt first." I messed that whole thing up. Bryson said, "I'll putt first because I don't want you to show me the line. I don't want to win that way." So you would have seen exactly what it did. It was a dead straight putt, but it was a nice moment, and I thought that it was a little bit of class out of Bryson. But yeah, Pavone is up there, and then Fitz has had, in his own words, a rubbish season. We did a little one hole with last week. And I said, how would you describe your season? And he said, rubbish. He's been a really, really consistent player. This is the first time, I believe, that he's dropped out of the top 50 of the world rankings, which is kind of hard to do these days when you're playing the PGA Tour and signature events. Since, I believe, he was like 20 years old. He's been really, really solid, and it's a really down year. So are you buying it for the weekend? You feel like it's sustainable?
I kind of feel the same way about Fitz as I do about Homa. It's like when you haven't been there in a long time and you've been searching and seeking and you found a little something, but is the glue going to hold? Is the epoxy going to set? I mean, you're the completist on Fitz. Like, it's one of my favorite things in the history of golf that this incredibly meticulous, almost obsessive golfer wrecked his whole swing by leaving some weights in his driver. Like, tell that story for people who don't know it.
That's basically the story. I mean, he was hitting it so bad last year, driving it so bad, and couldn't figure out what it was. I guess he forgot that he added weight to his shaft, which is just, like you said, for any professional golfer, that's an inexcusable mistake. For a guy who's charted every single shot since he was 15 years old,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how that happens.
I mean, I thought you said he left it in like the weight of his driver head at first. That would be even worse because you can at least see that every time you pull the club head out. The shaft, I mean, you don't really.
But it was a lot. It was substantial.
It was enough to screw up his swing.
And he
wild.
used to talk about Tiger, like he could feel a 1 gram difference, like the weight of a single dollar bill would mess him up. Like, Fitz, your hands are everything. Like, it's unbelievable.
So speaking of Max Homa, he had some interesting stuff to say about sort of PGA Championships and their nature and the U.S. Open versus the Masters. Let's roll that clip, Matt.
It felt a bit like smoke and mirrors. That golf course is rare for us in a season. You can drive it quite poorly if you leave it on the right sides, and if you can mentally stay in it and short game it well, iron it well, and putt it well, you can actually kind of make up for a lot of things, which is rare. You play a PGA Championship or like a U.S. Open or something, and if you're off the fairway, it's grind the whole way through. So
So is this the real test then? Is the PGA Championship and I mean, there is something to be said about that because Rory was driving it a little bit wayward at the Masters, and he was okay. Rory hit, I think, 6 fairways over the first 2 rounds, and he struggled. He had to make it on the number.
Yeah, this is a more complete test in some ways. I mean, Augusta is this weird dichotomy where it's wide off the tee but exceptionally precise into the greens, and Rory's iron play was phenomenal. That's what carried him. This asks more questions off the tee, no doubt about that. I think tomorrow is massive for Homa. If he can survive and stay in position, then I think he's playing with house money on Sunday, and that the confidence will keep growing. But if he's 2 over after 4 and he starts to panic, like it could go sideways because he's talked so openly and honestly about the struggles, about how bad he's been hitting it, the soul searching, and that's still in there a little bit.
But he's also finished okay the last couple of tournaments, right? So between he and Fitz, like he's less likely to have that sort of nerve kick in tomorrow. Like, oh, I'm back on that stage because he's been gradually kind of not getting towards winning.
They're both
but like,
high-strung characters, though.
True.
He's got 1 top 12 finish at the Masters. He said he was worried that the Masters was going to be his last ever Masters. I think he was kind of joking, so he knew that T12 number very well because it guaranteed him a return visit. But he's been doing a lot of work. I was very surprised, and I've talked about this extensively. But basically anything that can change with a professional golfer, he's changed over the last 12 months. He changed his clothes, which doesn't really matter, but he changed his equipment company, which does matter a lot. He changed swing coaches. Mark Blackburn, who's actually working with Matt Fitzpatrick now, so it's kind of funny how that, the coaching carousel keeps on spinning. But he started working with Blackburn shortly after the U.S. Open at Winged Foot, and became a world-class player. Became one of the best ball strikers on the planet. Did most of his winning with Mark Blackburn, and then they split before this year's Ryder Cup, which I was very surprised about. And he's talked a lot about his new swing coach, John Scott Rattan, and kind of what they've been working on. And I thought it was interesting what he had to say today about that. Let's roll that clip.
As bad as it's been, I'm quite good at golf to play decent from some of the positions I've been in my golf swing. But it felt like about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, John Scott came out for a few days, and we really dove into I got more honest with him about what I thought we should do, and it's gonna hopefully be one of those things I remember. I said, I think I should swing it like this, and he said, okay, show me. And I showed him. He goes, okay, let's mold off of that. Let's make that the model. And it felt more like my old golf swing back in 22, 23-ish. I guess 22, 23, and I kind of knew the misses better. My hands just worked through the shot better. And so, about 2.5 weeks ago, I was like, okay, I see the misses. It's been hard. I felt like I've been playing with a foreign swing at times.
So why change?
Exactly. But it's that mentality that got him to the top 5 in the world. I want to get better. I'm always searching for an extra edge. It's the same with Tiger. Why change? He was at the mountaintop. He was at the highest peak anyone's ever been, but he felt like he could get better. Padraig Harrington did it too. You can't turn off that drive that got you there. That's just who you are. It's in your DNA. You can't say, okay, just kind of work on the maintenance, just try and stay 95% of what you were. That's not how these guys are built. But it is funny in Homa's case, he's not trying to reinvent anything. He's just trying to go backwards 2 years.
Well, this is what we had Brandel on a couple weeks ago, and he said that what Tiger did in 2000, whenever he decided, 2001 or 2, when he decided to change his swing after playing the best golf anyone's ever played, and Brandel called it the craziest thing in the history of sports, which obviously maybe a bit dramatic, but he said, I think his words were, the information, I'm paraphrasing here, the information that these guys have at their disposal is a huge risk, because you look at a guy like Justin Thomas, you look at a guy like Victor Hovland, and I think Max Homa now really put himself in this category with those comments today. These guys, they run on a hamster wheel, and then they end up being like, I'm going back to the way that I used to swing it. And it's frustrating. But you're right. It is.
It's one way to learn,
Yeah, but it points to, you're right. It points to, we're sitting here and we're like, you were playing great. Why change anything? But it's sort of what Alan said, where if they feel like they can get better, they're going to, even if it's frustrating for us at home.
It's in there.
It's definitely in there.
I think the most important part of what Homa talked about was he found it. It's what he wanted. And it's wild that he'd let someone else tell him how to swing the club, and even though it felt foreign and weird, he probably should have gotten there sooner, but at least he got there. And that ownership and that sense of this is my DNA, that's a big deal.
Well, that's the holy grail for a coach or a teacher or a boss, right? It's make them feel like it's their idea.
Yeah.
So he was like, yeah, this is your old swing. We're modeling it off of you.
Yeah. I'm really happy to see him playing well, because I was really concerned, because it's one thing if a guy goes into their first slump that they've had in their career, kind of like Fitzpatrick, right? Where you think they're going to come back, right? I mean, not every player is great the whole time, but Max had a slump earlier in his career where he was legitimately the worst player on the PGA Tour. And I can only imagine when he was showing up, I think he missed 5 cuts in a row at one point earlier this year. I can only imagine that scar tissue is already in there. Mm-hmm. And so I think to see him put these rounds together, to do it at the first 2 majors of the year, right? We can say what we want, but he's played better than JT in the majors so far. JT missed the cut today. We'll get to that. Did nothing at the Masters. I mean, he's played better than a lot of players in the majors, and I think it makes me happy that he's not going all the way down to the bottom, because he could have.
His joke or non-joke about maybe playing his last Masters, there's some hard truth in that. I mean, ask Ian Baker Finch, ask David Duval. Plenty of great players have lost their way and never made it back. There's nothing guaranteed in this game, and so you're right. I mean, if he goes all the way to the bottom of the sea again, it's
what
scary.
do you guys have to see from him this week to feel like we're on the other side of the Max narrative?
I think Alan's spot on. I want to see 1 under par through 6 holes tomorrow.
Okay.
I think the start tomorrow is absolutely vital. If he at a certain point, if you've played 2.5 rounds in a major, and he I think was second, as I saw in strokes gained off the tee behind Bryson. If he continues to swing it and drive it that well, there's going to be a switch from thinking about my golf swing, is it there, to thinking about winning the tournament. And that's, when you start to get into that sort of flow state, or start to leave the, I think Blackburn, who was his coach, always talks about, I want my guys to do all of their technical work when they're on the range, and then when you go on the golf course, be an athlete. Because basketball players aren't thinking about their elbow position when they're shooting; they're just out there like hooping. And I think, if he can play those first 8 holes 1 under par tomorrow, I think he's going to get into that mindset.
And just start hooping.
That'd be fun. Don't underestimate how popular Max Homa is. Like, I'll never forget. The light bulb moment for me was a few years ago at a tournament. Some fans were looking at the pairing sheet. Like, who do you want to follow? And the guy's like, Rory. And the other dude's like, nah, let's go follow Max. I feel like connected to him. I don't even know Rory. I was like, okay, you just distilled the modern moment of sport fandom.
The wall's kind of not there with him. He was one of those guys that, like, immediately became relatable when you realized that he was, like, good now. And it was like, oh, I like that guy because he just talks like a dude. And he's like a California bro.
Because he's vulnerable. Like, he's not a robot. And that's what people respond to.
Even as he got, like, more famous, like, he hasn't turned into, like, a PR talking point kind of guy.
No, he's kept it real. I am feeling as confident as ever in my Scotty Scheffler pick to start the week.
Yeah.
He's basically 7 under.
You said he was leading, basically.
If there's the shadow leaderboard, he is leading. The shadow board. I like Scotty leading the tournament right now. He, apart from that mud ball on 16 yesterday, he's 7 under par and really only 1 back. Obviously, that's golf. That's the nature of the game. But
he's back to controlling his
golf ball. I think he's in really, really good control. And you don't want to say it's overdue, but Scotty's been the best player on the planet if you look at the last 2.5 years, really since kind of 2022, honestly, when he won his first tournament and then won the Masters that year. Like, he's been the guy to only have sort of 2 majors in this span. Majors are they're the carrot, they're the diamond, and I think to add another a major, one that's not the Masters, get halfway to the career Grand Slam, it would be another guy that's a sort of a distinct possibility for it, something that he's definitely capable of. He's got a real opportunity this weekend.
And when you go from 2 majors to 3, you start getting to rarefied air.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a big deal. I would say actually Scotty's ascent, I would date it to Sunday of the Ryder Cup in 21. Remember, John Rahm was a rampaging bull, and Scotty won the first 4 holes and just gave him the back of the hairbrush. Like, that was as macho as it gets. And in a weird way, I think that mud ball was equivalent. Plus, Rory winning the Masters is good for Scotty. Because I asked him earlier in the week, like, did Rory's win fire him up? And he's like, heck yeah. I mean, I don't like to ever get beat by anyone.
Yeah.
And there was some edge there. And he's such a sweet, happy-go-lucky character, but deep down, like,
it's the one edgy thing about him is he, like, when he talks about being competitive, like, he means it. He's not just using a talk.
And it's not just that he wants to win; he wants to beat you.
Yeah,
like, that's different. And
that's Jordan shit.
Well,
that's Tiger Woods shit.
I was at Texas a couple weeks ago for the college series. Scratch you. Thank you for watching. And I asked the coach, what was Scotty like in college? And he said, you could hear him from 3 holes over. He was loud. How does that happen? What's going on here? He said he was a mega hothead. And I asked him also, did you see this coming? This meteoric rise. And Scotty talked about this a little bit, where when he first turned pro, he was a little bit overshadowed by, he was right around that Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland, Matt Wolff class of 2019 that everyone always talks about. And so all the attention was on then, and he was a very, very good college player, and he won a ton of tournaments in high school. But the sort of consensus that I've gotten from coaches asking around, college coaches, did you see this coming? And they're all like, no, it didn't. So it's been meteoric.
Yes, I mean, he's here, and I think he knows this is his tournament to win. And much like it's kind of a line for Rory at Augusta, where Scotty wasn't firing all cylinders, Bryson was fighting his swing. It was just like, it was clearly, if Rory played his game, he was going to win, and he managed to do it. I think we're here with Scotty now. The guys above him, I don't think, scare him, and he knows it. They know it. He knows that they know it. It's one of those deals, and Scotty's going to be a load this weekend. I agree. He's the favorite at this moment.
He's definitely the favorite. You talked about guys who are robots. I'll tell you someone who's not a robot, Mr. Siwoo Kim. This guy is absolutely electric. I did On the Bag with him. We've become really tight. Not really tight. We've become friends since then because he's just one of the funniest guys out there. They are dancing on Rick Gaiman's grave. He had an ace today from 250-something yards. Let's roll that clip.
He's 4 under par. Currently has the best round going of any player out on the golf course. 3 under overall. And one of the best shots we've seen at number 6. How good? He goes!
Big dog! There we go, see Will.
I love it. He just takes off running down the
running.
fairway. Fantastic reaction. He's been making some headlines, recently just because of how funny he is. His reactions are always incredible. When he's playing bad on Sunday, he looks like he wants to be anywhere besides a golf course. And they caught him a little, I don't know if it was a cell phone, but they caught him smoking a cigarette earlier this week. Let's watch that again.
Just one quick hit.
Just a quick hit.
Yeah.
Just a little buzz.
One toe.
So I sent him a message yesterday. I said this on the show. I said, I texted him and I said, since when do you smoke? And he said, getting old and stressed. So don't know if that's a good model, getting older and starting to smoke. I feel like when people say they're getting older, then they maybe stop smoking. But he
Took
he's
the
a
edge
gem.
off enough to, cut a 5-wood into a long par 3.
Do you have any experience with Siwoo? I mean, he didn't really speak English until like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was the thing. I remember talking to Sean Foley at least 5 years ago when they were working together, and we were just talking about talent. Like, what is talent in golf? And I said, who's the most talented guy on tour? He said, Siwoo Kim.
Really?
I was like, what? But just like, he's so bullish on that kid. And it might have been 7 years ago. Like, and that was before he won the Players, and that was kind of like a wake up to me. Like, I started paying closer attention. But no, the language barrier was a real thing. I mean, of course, one of the all-time great press conference moments is, Jordan Spieth.
Siwoo shaking that ass.
Shaking that ass. Yeah, I mean, it still makes me laugh to this day. And so clearly there's some energy around him that the players like, and as the language barrier's gone away, you've gotten to know, apparently he's a great dude.
He's a great dude. So he shot 64 today, which matched the low round of the day. Max Homa shot that as well. Siwoo is in at 6 under. And you can see the round right there. He had that one on. He followed up the one with a birdie. That's macho stuff right there. That is macho stuff. So, like I said, there's some world-class players that are sort of creeping up the board. Scotty's up there. Bryson is sort of lurking. But a lot of big names are headed home. I think probably the most surprising of the bunch is Justin Thomas. Came into this week having had a chance to win 3 of his last 4 starts. Won the last time it was here. He got off to a pretty solid start today and just didn't have it. A pretty bitter, disappointing miscut.
Watching him yesterday especially, he was so demonstrative out there. He was shouting at the heavens, and he was gesticulating to the crowd, and he was like falling on his knees, and he just looked a little overwrought. Like, I think he wanted too much. De facto defending champ at the PGA at Quail Hollow, and he just seemed like he got lost in the sauce a little.
Yeah, like sleepily faded away.
Yeah. And we talked, I think, was it last week or leading into this, like, we're not sold on Justin yet.
Well, the majors haven't been good.
No, those are the toughest tests, and it's a very fine line, and he just hasn't had it, and the search continues.
I'm officially a little concerned about Ludwig Aubert. It's been a very, very strange year. Started it off with the biggest win of his career at Genesis, and you're thinking this guy's about to take off. He misses 2 cuts for the first time in his career, albeit a very short career so far, and he finds a way to contend at the Masters. Then it's been really poor since. He did not play well at the RBC Heritage. He was near the bottom of the leaderboard at the Truist, and then a missed cut this week. I don't think anyone's concerned for him long term, but we thought he was going to kind of elevate and maybe push Scotty this year, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah, that was a storyline on a certain reality TV show that you have some affinity for, Dan. But I mean, really, to me, his entire season was the 16th hole at Augusta National when he had a putt to take the lead, and he whiffed it, and it was like he was just hanging around, sneaking in there, and boom, all of a sudden, holy cow, crazy things are happening. I could win the Masters. Immediately makes a bogey, and then he got run over, and it was just like he just sort of shrank from that moment, and that was a tell for me. And
you don't think he's a closer? You've said that.
For as many times as he's been there, you would expect him to have a few more W's, and so it's an acquired skill. I mean, like you said, long term, he's going to be a monster, but we're seeing some growing pains.
Some growing pains that we didn't see at all last year, and I
There's
think
still a lot of time left in this season too. Like, there's 2 majors left. Like,
Sure.
He's good enough that is he? I'll ask a question then. Like, is there enough time left for at the end of the season to say Ludwig had the season that we expected? Because
Yes.
it really isn't this year thing. Like, this felt like the year.
Of course, you win at Oakmont or Portrush. It's been in a transcendent year, and plus it's a Ryder Cup. I mean,
So even in the short term,
yeah,
I'm not burying the guy. I'm just saying I'm a little concerned. It's
a small sample size, but it's a little concerning.
It's a little concerning. It's the first dip that he's really had in his pro career. Another guy who had a dip this week, Hideki Matsuyama. So he started the week with a streak of making the cut in 19 straight major championships, which is almost 5 years. It's very, very impressive. He missed the cut this week, and he went to the range for a little bit of speed training therapy, I guess I would call it. Let's watch the clip.
Oh, his iron play let him down at the Masters. He almost finished last in that category. What's Hideki doing here? He's on the cut line, isn't he? Is that a bit of temper?
Is that some good old?
He looks strangely okay with a guy who just missed his first cut in like 5 years in a major.
But let's talk about the flow. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know he had that kind of hair.
He's just letting it all hang
He's
out.
full of surprises. Remember when he was married?
Yeah.
And
Oh, by the way, I got
can
married.
you tell that? I mean, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't think I wasn't around when
Well,
that happened.
That was another thing with Hideki was like Siwoo, the language barrier. That the people around him said, "Oh, he's a great guy. He's got so much personality." We never saw it, and even as you knew he was starting to learn English, it became like this. He was like hiding behind the tinted windows of a limousine. Like he would just use the barrier as an excuse not to engage the reporters. And no doubt the Japanese media was all over him, and he wanted to give as little as he had to. And so it just somehow came up randomly that he was married. It was like, wait, what? And so people were like, well, we didn't know you're getting married. He said, well, you never asked. Well, it's not something you just throw out randomly.
It's a side
We
chick
didn't
who
get to
became
the
main
one-on-one
chick.
stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't get to the marriage stuff. You wouldn't talk to us in the first
Yeah.
place.
It's the side chick who became the main chick. Jordan Spieth, a lot of attention on him coming into this week because of Rory McIlroy. No one really talked about Jordan winning the PGA Championship to complete the career Grand Slam, probably because, unlike Rory, he hadn't put himself in contention to do it. Missed the cut this week. Actually played solid today. I think he shot 3 under, but did himself no favors with his opening round. And the PGA, as it sort of continues to go to these golf courses that are, sort of what Max Homa said, there's rough everywhere. You can't. I mean, he is tailor-made for the Open Championship and the Masters. He's a shot maker. He's not gonna, driving range golf. The guys always talk about Palm Springs, like, that's sort of the derogatory term. Is like, well, he might be able to win in Palm Springs, but can he do it at Augusta National? And he even said himself that the U.S. Open that he won was not really like a traditional U.S. Open. So the PGA Championship is just not really a setup for him in this iteration.
No, they need to take the PGA to Pacific Dunes or something, and then he's going to be dangerous. But yeah, long, soft golf courses. And I mean, Spieth he's been driving it well. Like his driving numbers are actually quite good, but he's still just given up so much to the Rorys of the world. And he needs something wonky in one of these setups where they kind of Kerry Haig just goes rogue, no rough, dry. He gets,
Players don't say fair.
It's not fair. And no rain in May, which is a hard thing to find. And if you got a really firm, fast, fiery PGA Championship, that would obviously suit Spieth. But we waited a long time for Rory's, but I think we're going to wait even longer for Jordan.
Yeah, I said at the beginning of the week, gun to my head, I don't know that it happens, which is, I think everyone is rooting for Jordan Spieth. He's someone that people identify with, but not a very good
It sounds
week
like
for
his
him.
injury persists, even though he's playing through it. Like he wakes up every day and it's hurting.
Yeah,
and,
they said you didn't say it's like he wakes up and he has to wait 30 minutes for the swelling to go down from his wrist. That doesn't sound ideal.
No bueno. And what if you have an early tee time? Just the very bottom line with Spieth is he's won 2 tournaments in 7 years. It's not like he's underperforming at the majors. He's just not really a threat to win that often, period.
Yeah, it's a little depressing when you put it that way, but it's
Yeah.
absolutely true. Another guy who's not a threat to win majors these days is Patrick Cantlay. I was so disappointed with his performance. There are other guys like Joaquin Niemann who they put their foot on the gas. They shot a couple under par to sneak into the weekend. Cantlay did not. Another guy is Will Zalatoris, who we want to talk about injuries, and a guy who is really slipping is Will Zalatoris. He had that one runner-up finish, I believe it was at Riviera last year. That kind of hinted to us that he might be back, but back issues at that age, not what you're looking for.
Should have taken the LIV contract.
Yeah,
Yeah.
throwing darts.
When you blow out your back at that age and already have a unique move that puts a lot of strain, and I know he's tried to work on it, but your essential swing DNA never really changes. Like he's always gonna have a little bit of that bend, and it's a bummer to see because he was a fun character, and when he was healthy and swinging the club, I mean, he's one of the most fun guys to watch.
Every week
Just
he was
lasers,
up there.
Lasers, dead straight.
Yeah.
And like he was able to finish where he did. I think he finished second in a couple majors with a figure-8 putting stroke at certain points.
Oh yeah, he was putting terribly and still top 5ing all the time.
That's how good he hit it.
I was
back
excited.
then.
He put on a little muscle, a little weight. He came back from the injury, like he looked bulky. I was like, okay, this is like Big Will coming back. It's sad.
Yeah, he's young enough. I mean, again, that type of, strike, that kind of hand-eye coordination. Like he can find the middle of the club face. Maybe it's out there, but I don't know. It's way beyond a slump. Like this might be just his new level.
Speaking of slumps, is Dustin Johnson done?
Man, so he had 24 putts on the back 9 yesterday.
With a lab putter. That's how it's impressive.
24 putts in 9 holes.
So it's not cheating. Confirmed.
So it was funny. So I really wanted to talk to Dustin today, but he stomped out of there. And people were running after him, like his little circle. But I did chat up his agent, David Winkle. And I said, is Dustin, is he still trying? Does he still care? And Wink said, he's worked really hard the last month.
The last month? Yeah, when the majors came around.
Yeah, it's like, what about the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Like that was
What's
funny.
his live record like?
He was the best player the first year. He won Player of the Year.
The Aces won the team the first year, right?
The Aces have fallen off, and so has Dustin. It's just, I mean, according to Winkle, it's just been the putting. I didn't even go back and look at the stats, but he said Dustin's stats at Augusta were excellent, tee to green. And you're getting putting function, but it's not like it's just this year. I mean, his play in the majors has been atrocious since he went to LIV. It's been embarrassing. And Dustin was embarrassed. You could see he didn't want to make eye contact with anyone. He's like, get me out of here.
Well, if you look at the leaderboard, he's next to a bunch of club pros. Another LIV guy who missed the cut pretty poorly is Brooks Koepka. Followed up his 75 yesterday with a 76 today. He shot 9 over par, tied with Phil Mickelson. They both missed the cut by a lot. Brooks's tough stretch in the majors continues. There was that stretch in 2023 where he almost won the Masters, where Rahm clipped him, and then he obviously won the next one at Oak Hill. But since then, it's been tough sledding. Justin Rose shot 9 over to miss the cut. He withdrew, I believe it was, last week with an illness. So a guy who finished second in the last 2 majors, that kind of went under the radar that he finished second in the last 2 majors.
He's the new Will Zalatoris.
He might be the new Will Zalatoris. He missed the weekend. Mackenzie Hughes missed the cut, which was good for our bet. We haven't had too much success so far. Mr. Rick Gehman not here to defend himself, but Rory's not going to win, Xander's not going to win, and Cantlay's not going to win. Norgard missed the cut. Fleetwood were alive, Rahm were alive, Hole in One were dead, Bryson were alive, Sungjae were dead. So it's going to be a tough week. We're going to have to scrap it. I don't know if we can possibly get back. I think we need Rahm to do what Rahm. We need him to take care of business this weekend. What he can do. He's at 2 under. He's kind of hanging around.
Yeah, that's exactly the right terminology. Like every time they show him with a mid-range putt, he misses it. Like he just doesn't seem to be getting much out of his putter. But yeah, we don't have to go down this rabbit hole too far. But as we know, it's always been a talking point. Like, how will LIV dull the competitive edge of these guys? And as we're getting to a larger sample size, and you see Dustin, you see Brooks,
How about Cameron Smith?
I was just gonna say Cam Smith.
Wow,
7 over.
I mean, they're playing so bad in the majors, and now it's more than just a handful. Like we're getting an actual sample size.
Well, there's Bryson and Rahm, and Bryson's done better, and Tyrrell's still playing well, but there are a lot of these blue chip guys who left who they've dropped a level.
Cameron Smith's got to be the biggest disappearance since that's happened, because he was I think
he was number 2 in the world.
Cruising, yeah.
And he was so fun to watch. Like
Yeah.
he was just making birdie from everywhere, and so just oozed skill and talent. And so I'm not sure anyone even really cares anymore about that talking point, but
I think people care.
It's looking more and more like a thing when you look at the drop off.
I think they probably care more because of what you said, Alan. There's actual sample size now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like speculation.
So the closest club pro to making the cut was Tyler Collett at 9 over par. So
Shout out to Tyler.
Shout out to Tyler. He was the low club pro. And I'm going to say this. I think 20 club pros is a bit much. And I know it was 25 back in the day and they whittled it down to 20. And I understand that this is the PGA of America's tournament and this is about putting a spotlight on those guys. You could still do it with 10. We could have the Core Bridge group of 10, and we could get 10 more world-class players into one of the 4 major championships that we have every year. It just feels like, I mean, 2 of them did make the cut last year, but 20 club pros. It's just so many club pros. And, you know, the guys won't admit it, but I don't think that the players like watching a guy shooting plus 14 in their group. Like when they're paired with these touring professionals. I get it. You know, we can still shine the light on what they do with 10 instead of 20. Thoughts?
How about 8?
you want to go down even further?
I mean, how about 1? The guy who wins the tournament, he's in, and we celebrate him, and we've got all these commercial breaks. We can sing the praises, but I mean, I know it's such a fun experience for those who make the field.
It's not a charity.
It's one of the best. Yeah, it's one of the best weeks of their lives. But
who are really not letting in that's going to compete though? And
so, I mean, look at the top of the leaderboard. Somebody, you know what I mean? Like the guys who are up top. I mean, these tour pros are it's just so different.
I guess this week specifically.
This week is a great example. Like these club pros are really good, and you watch them on the range, and I'm sure all their members are like, he's good enough. He's good enough. The closest guy to making the cut was 8 shots behind. I think some of that has to do with the golf course. Some of it has to do with how wet it was. But you know, pros who are struggling, you can disparage a guy who's number 170 in the world who didn't get into this field but would have. But we've got guys at the top of the leaderboard who are down there in the world rankings. You know what I mean? So like Alex Smalley wasn't in this tournament. He got in when Sahid withdrew. He's tied for 7th. They have a gear in them that the club pros simply do not have.
Smalley's got a beautiful action too. I like watching him swing the club.
Smalley's pure.
Yeah, it's unfortunately blocky. Probably
he gave it life.
Yeah,
he tabled any discussions for like a solid decade.
Speaking of blocky, we're going to move into sort of some bits and bobs here. We went through the leaders. We went through the sort of the graveyard. I believe that this is the week that the block party officially ended.
It's closed.
I think the block party's over. I think the lights are on. I think
Caution tapes up.
I don't know if this is a high school party, but I think the cops might be showing up. What happened is he shot, I believe, 15 over or something like that. So he finishes tied for 15th. Amazing stuff at Oak Hill. Misses the cut last year. This year shoots 15 over, and then had this to say after the round. I got to give credit to golf.com. They got the old exclusive here. But let's pull up this. Let's pull up this clip of Michael Block, or this screenshot of Michael Block and what he had to say. He said, after firing an 82 on Friday, Michael Block told golf.com that smaller crowd size resulted in poor performance en route to an MC. That's kind of the funny part, is I wish there was a huge crowd on every hole, because that's when I hit my shots. When there's no one around, when I hit my worst shots. That's something I need more in my life, is a bigger crowd. I just need to play a little better so it could happen. I could only imagine what would have happened if I would have been playing really good this week. And I don't think that quote's going to go over super well with other people.
It sounds like Michael Block's asking for a one-man golf show at the Sphere, and he'll make an ace on every hole.
Block on tour. Honestly, if there was like a Vegas residency for professional golfers, Michael Block would be top of the line.
He does fit the bill, yeah.
He has many talents, but self-awareness is not one of them.
I think it's not going to go over well in the locker room.
He's Happy Gilmore. He wanted to, people riding the horse around.
So Ben On took to Twitter, and he said, wild take, definitely somewhere up there with the flat earthers.
About Blocky's quote?
About Blocky's quote.
Ben On's a G. I love that guy.
Ben On, the weapon. Yeah. Sean Foley calls him the weapon, which I think is one of the all-time nicknames. So I think the block party is officially over, unfortunately. Tyrrell Hatton. I don't know why they continue to leave the microphones on. Maybe they like it. I don't know. These.
Of course.
Do they? You think the producers?
Yes. I mean, that exploded on socials. Like,
let's show the clip. We have it here. Tyrrell Hatton, not a huge fan of his.
So, Tyrrell Hatton not happy with that tee shot.
I don't know if our audience could hear that, but he said, "You effing C word." And I'm all for showing a little. It's a bit much, right? Like,
it means something different to an Englishman, right?
Yes, he could be saying, "I actually really like you." I actually really like this driver, because it's a term of endearment. Certainly in Australia, they say that all the time. But I think it's like, people like it because it's, this is how we react in our weekend game. If I said that on the golf course, I think everyone would look at me and just be like, "Are you okay?"
That's true. That's a good point.
It's a little bit.
We actually don't want to hang out with guys that act like
you can call yourself an asshole. You can say, you're the worst player in the world. And I'm not necessarily traditional. It's pretty damn vulgar.
That's why it was good. You got to take it too far, or what's the point? And that Hatton always takes it too far. It's a little boorish. There's no doubt. but it's also undeniably funny. I mean,
And he's not faking it. It's just who he is.
Yeah.
So
It is
it's
who he
genuine.
is. I had him on. I interviewed him for Foreplay. Alex Bush's eyes perked up when I said Foreplay. I interviewed him on Foreplay, and I said, we got to get you into golf course design, because if you design your own golf course, there's nothing to moan about. He said, I'd
He'd
find a way
find a
to
way.
moan about it. So he is self-aware.
he's actually a lovely lad. When you talk to him once the round's over, he's quite fun. And
Yeah, definitely like a
and
guy you want to hang out with, like even never having met him.
and endearing. And unlike Blocky, he does have self-awareness. He knows like he loses the plot, and there's a little remorse, but it's just how he's wired. And he told me a funny story last year in Pinehurst about like he kind of lost it on the roads and had a road rage incident. And he's like, it's like every now and then I just like lose my mind. It mostly happens on the golf course, but
Just happens to be where he is most often.
yeah, I mean, I actually against my better angels, I love Hatton. I think he's fun. He's fun to watch. Hits a lot of great iron shots. He's
I'm a
got
big
some
fan.
space.
I'm on record saying I think he's going to win a Masters sooner versus later.
He's a hell of a player.
He plays well at Augusta.
He hates the golf course.
He hates it, but he
That's
plays
gonna
well
be
there.
great.
But he
He's
plays
gonna be
well
the first
there.
guy who's like lukewarm about winning the Masters.
Begrudgingly putting on the jacket.
Yeah, this is a wonderful golf course. I'm so happy to be your champion. A Masters champion, the most recent Masters champion, Mr. Rory McIlroy, had the two-putt from about 45 feet to make the cut this week. He finished at 1 over on the number. Just a reminder of how difficult it is to predict this sport. Couldn't have come in better form. Monkey off his back. Now people will say, oh, did the hangover last, whatever it is. But he finished in the top 10 last week, playing pretty poorly by his standards. And what'd you see out there from Rory?
I mean, yesterday for sure he was fighting a two-way miss off the tee. He drove it a little bit better today, which was expected. I mean, he was lucky to have sort of the early-late wave. He had plenty of time to work on his swing. I mean, after he birdied the 10th hole and he was 4 under on the day and he's in red numbers for the turn, it's like here it comes. Like he's going to keep going. That was the most shocking thing to me is he found it and then he lost it.
Yeah, he kept knocking on the door.
Yeah,
lightly.
I think he went to the moon emotionally, and I don't think it's a shock that he's just seemed a little flat this week, and he just hasn't had the same intensity. And even Rory McIlroy is not going to beat.
Well, he said he was pretty intense on 13, wasn't he?
Yeah, sure, but I mean, even Rory is not going to win against this field on this golf course with his B- game. It's just, and that's what it looks like he has.
Sometimes things are teed up too perfectly. Like
Yeah.
everything in his favor, everybody picking him. Rory McIlroy Country Club, like that person can't win when all that stuff
What a quote.
is. Yeah.
What a quote from Jordan Spieth.
That was great.
Rory McIlroy Country Club. I mean, the other two guys that we said were the big favorites are sort of finding their way up there. Like we said, Scotty's at -5. Bryson is at 3 under. He shot 3 under today. Here's what he said. I'm just going to read this. The question was, Bryson in a good position going into the weekend. What sort of score do you think is out there at the weekend with conditions improving and the weather getting better as the week has gone on? It depends where the pins are, he says. The pins have been mostly on top of crowns this week, which has made it a very difficult test of golf. You have to have your iron super precise this week, and I think he's being sarcastic here, he says, which we all know how good my wedges are. So that makes it a little bit more difficult for me. That's okay, though. He has so many wedges into greens with how far he hits it. And there's nobody, I mean, maybe Fitz, but there's nobody who's more into, I mean, he's sort of the originator, not the originator, but he's the most classic example of like the clock system. He's always talking about his clocks. The distance control with the wedges is, I think it's what makes him such an exciting player. And so there's clear room for improvement.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same with Dustin Johnson when he finally focused on his wedge game. He went on a Godzilla run. Rory finally learned how to hit some 3/4 shots in the last 6 months. He won the Masters. Sometimes these guys, it's so obvious to everyone else they have to get there, and maybe Bryson will hit nothing but wedges for the next 6 months, and he'll win the Masters. But it is a glaring weakness, and why? Now, of course, he's got the super long wedges, which, as you may know, I play single length.
Yeah, what is that
But
like?
I was hitting shanks with the wedges. I could never like square the club face. I couldn't feel the club face, and so I still have a single length from pitching wedge through 4-iron, but my wedges are much shorter. They're an inch longer than standard, but that's
You should tell Bryson.
What's that?
You should tell Bryson.
Yeah, I got some in the trunk, Bryson.
I have an idea for you.
I mean, sometimes it's just the physics of it is really tough. It was for me, and it seems like he's even still fighting it. So, The guy's so stubborn. It's part of what makes him great. Is he won't let anyone into his bubble. Like he's tenacious about finding it himself. So I'm sure people have said, "Hey, why don't you try some different wedges?" And he's like, "No, I'm going to get there," but he hasn't gotten there yet.
Aaron Rai, I forgot to talk about him. He's up there at 4 under. I followed him for a couple holes, and he hit just what can only be described as a really dangerous golf shot on 16. So he misses it into the right rough, and then Andy, I believe we have this clip.
16. Aaron Rai in trouble on the tee, and he goes right dead center of the tree.
It hits that tree, and I cannot tell you how close that was to absolutely obliterating, shattering the splint, the shin of John Hopkins. You know the English golfer.
A brittle shin, no doubt.
Johnny Hopkins.
Wow, you thinking he's not drinking enough milk?
You said it, not me.
It was like scary. It was one of those where it comes off the place and you're like, oh my god, if that cuts another yard, it is going to do some serious damage to a tibia and a fibia.
Poor Hoppy. My favorite thing about John Hopkins is he retired like 15 years ago. I went to this big dinner for him in Dubai.
Still around.
Giving speeches.
Thompson.
He got presents. He's still around. It's the longest farewell tour in the history of journalism.
Yeah, it's the Lexi Thompson diet.
I saw something else about Aaron Rai this week that I didn't realize, that he takes one of his double gloves off when he's in the bunker.
Yeah, he's got 3 different stages. He's got the 2 gloves for all the full shots, 1 glove for the bunker shots, short game shots, and then no gloves.
No glove for putting?
Yeah.
So I wonder why he takes the glove off for the sand shot.
He says
and
to the putter, "I just want to feel you."
Yeah. I just want to be at one with you. He's been playing really, really solid for about a year and a half. I'm almost a little. He's the nicest, most soft-spoken guy. Everyone knows the story about his iron covers, and he uses those to remind everyone of his humble upbringing in Wolverhampton, very working-class city. He never had anything. His dad saved all that money to buy him a nice set of irons. He keeps them on there. I'm almost a little. I think he's going to make the Ryder Cup team, and I'm almost a little concerned that he's so nice that he's going to see all these fans and be like, and what they're saying, and be like, what is going on?
They'll at Bethpace.
They'll be nice.
Fine. They'll be sweet. They'll be sweet. I like to watch him play. He's kind of emotive out there. Like he lets you in when you watch him play. Like he'd be a fun person to watch. It wouldn't be a big crowd, but if you want to watch a pro golfer like live and die, like he'd be a good choice.
It was a fun watch today. I mean, he almost broke the leg of a distinguished golf journalist. A guy who battled today, Joaquin Niemann. A lot of attention on him coming into this week. He shot 3 over the first round, bounced back today with a 67 to make the weekend. Very unlikely to win the tournament, but hopefully he can move up the board and improve. We need to see a top 15. I'm asking for a top 15.
Yeah.
Let's get our first top 15 in the
better
American
than
Championship.
T16. Let's go.
T16, man. T16 in the 2023 Masters, I believe it was. I'm going to keep saying it.
It's a low bar. It's a low bar.
It's a low bar. Both Ryder Cup captains safely through. Luke Donald, I said he was going to shoot 76. He shot 74. So, joke's on me.
Wow, that happened late in the round then, because
yes.
he was hanging in there.
He finished. He's at 1 under total. Keegan Bradley, the U.S. Ryder Cup captain, is at 2 under total. Impressive show for those guys to make the weekend. Like I said, a lot of big name players didn't. I mean, Dustin, I can't believe where he finished on the leaderboard. Bob Sowards, who we saw earlier this week, he's 56 years old. He's playing his 12th. It was his 12th PGA. He's 0 for 12, making the cut now. But he beat Dustin by like 6 shots. So there's a sort of a long.
Did Dustin beat Blocky?
I believe Dustin did beat Blocky.
They were neck and neck for a long time.
It was a battle of titans there, a battle of all-time greats. But the block parties ended. One other thing we wanted to get to before we leave here, in the mudballs, I feel everyone was zigging and I kind of zagged yesterday. Like I said, I thought they should play. I got out of this room and every single person, Brandel Chambly and Padraig Harrington, they were like, these guys are so soft. Padraig said he never even heard the term mudball growing up.
That's badass. That's
because,
hard.
You grow up on these Irish links and like mud's not really a thing, and so I still think they should have played it up yesterday. I'm not going to back off my take, but I certainly was in the minority.
I read so many transcripts here. One of the players said, "Yeah, I got mud balls all day, and whoever wins this tournament is going to have dealt with it. They're going to be the most mentally tough." It's like, okay, there you go.
That's what I said yesterday.
That was a.
But then what happened today with Shane Lowry kind of made me contradict myself and expose myself as a
Shane
hypocrite.
lost his mind out there.
Lost his mind. So let's talk about that a little bit. So Shane Lowry's playing and he's in the middle of the fairway and his ball is quite clearly in a pitch mark.
Yeah.
But it's not his pitch mark.
Yeah.
And I think they have all these cameras around. I think this happened with. There was a little bit of controversy with Wyndham Clark earlier this year, and then it was proven that it was his pitch mark. If your ball finishes in your own pitch mark in the fairway, you get a free drop, or if it's embedded even in the rough, if it's in its own pitch mark, you get a free drop. If it's not your pitch mark, you don't get a free drop. And so Shane's ball rolls right into the middle of a pitch mark, and here's what happened.
If it gets into the rough, that is going to be a dicey proposition.
Drop, I'm just saying. Yeah, no, I mean, if it's back there, like, I mean, there's a referee on every hole.
Oh my God, there was so much force. That was the hardest swing he made all day. It almost looked like he almost decelled a little bit on the shot because he was just like waiting to do that.
He didn't decel on the anger.
He did not decel on the anger, and the cameras caught him afterwards. He said, F this place.
And he gave the finger, too.
He gave the finger.
To the hole at the end.
He must have learned that from Tyrrell Hatton. But that, I mean, you know, it's not a mud ball, but that doesn't happen if it's not super, super wet in the fairways.
Yes, but again, golf is a series of tests.
I'm spending too much time around players. I think I'm getting really soft. I'm getting really player friendly.
Can you feel differently about those two scenarios, or if I'm like play them down yesterday with the mud balls, I have to be like play it in the pitch mark, right?
You have to be intellectually consistent here, Ben.
Right. So that's what kind of made me twisted, because I hate that rule. Like that one really makes me mad.
I think if you're in a pitch mark, in any pitch mark, you should probably get relief.
Sure, but
because no one's going to tap that down. You know what I mean? The guy.
It's also a man-made deformity of the golf course. Like the
so
golf course wasn't like that before.
Fairway. Do you think you should get a drop out of just a regular old divot?
Now we're getting into some thorny subjects.
Yeah.
You
do? The divots that are left behind. Yes, yeah. I hate that. If you hit it in the fairway, you should have the fairway. But the mud is a part of the earth that was there before. The golfer before you made the divot.
So you've lost your intellectual consistency.
No, I'm following.
No, I'm
saying
track.
if it's a natural obstacle, such as the ball landed and picked up mud, that's one thing. If it's an unnatural obstacle, such as a player took a chunk out of the earth with a metal object known as a golf club, or there's a pitch mark left there from a piece of urethane covered ball.
If Shane Lowry takes his wedge to the cup and makes the cup double the size with that, they fix the cup, don't they?
Yeah.
So he's altered the green.
That's nothing that happened in the normal course of golf. That's people take divots all the time. Now you're gonna have, now there's gonna like now when you watch an NBA playoff game and everything gets reviewed and it's like tedious. There's gonna be so many. Is that a divot or is enough grass grown?
Well, I think that's the thing with the divots is it's such a. I mean, divots stay for a long time.
Right?
If you see a little patch of grass that's like a little bit of a different color than the other one, is that a divot?
So, But they'd have to determine. Oh, well, that was just made.
But that one right there was obvious. Like it was obvious that it rolled into a pitch mark that wasn't his own, and he had no shot. And that's the other thing about a divot is like you can play it back your stance, you can still get to the ball. He had absolutely no chance there. No chance. They hit a wall.
Yes. It's really golf is a series of challenges. It's never going to be there's never going to be a uniform playing field, which is what it sounds like you guys want. But there's no Zamboni, okay? Like the course.
No Zamboni in golf. That's a great.
The course is the course, and you just play the ball where it lies. That's the most fundamental part of the sport. And now you're making all kinds of exceptions and all kinds of rules. And
so if a ball lands in its own pitch mark, should you have to play it?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, so that's intellectually consistent.
I mean,
so you'd be for playing the ball down in all scenarios, just you're not allowed to touch it.
The ball is down. I mean, obviously you can't play in a puddle. Like standing water, like...
Why?
Yeah, why not? It's rubber the green. Don't hit it in the frickin' standing water.
Well, okay.
Yes. We want to talk about logical consistency here. Let's take it to its extreme.
By my logic, I would say you do have to play it out of standing water because that is God's
you're all
creation.
crisscrossed.
I'm crisscrossed.
I'm super player friendly just because I guess I've gotten soft.
Now we're invoking theology.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Is
whoever
it God
put
or is
water.
it Tom Fazio, though? Are they the same thing? Yeah, I mean,
to some, yes.
Tom Fazio might be the Lord.
Or the Antichrist.
Or the Antichrist.
Your bent.
All right, so we did this yesterday. I stuck with my Scotty Scheffler pick. If I had to give you a redo for your pick for the week, who are you taking?
Well,
I'm
ride or die with John.
You could take anyone.
Okay.
I mean, Scotty's the logical choice. There's no doubt he's the favorite. I'm going down with Johnny Vegas if I have to, but I'm so invested in the guy. And it was cute, you know, I tweeted out this story, and people are into it because that was so long ago. A lot of folks, to them, he's just a journeyman who wins once every 3 or 4 years, and he's just one of those guys, has a nice smile, but they don't really know his story. And I think there's a lot there.
When I think of Johnny Vegas, I think of him being the first guy to wear the Golf Saudi sponsorship, and everyone thought he was going to LIV. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was the whole thing. There was a whole courtship, but he stayed. So
I just want to let the record show that Alan Shipnuck put 5,000 words on Twitter last night, and people read it. The written word is not dead.
The written word. I've been saying
that was
this
amazing.
I've been saying this to you the whole time. Yeah, and your editors from you're probably rolling over in their grave. But this is what I've been saying. The written word is not dead. You just got to find people where they are. Yeah. We've done these things, these art carousels we call them, where you basically write an article on Instagram and you show that, and people read it and people really enjoy it. They just don't go to websites anymore. And so if you can cut that whole thing out and just post what you posted.
Well, in your case, it wasn't digitally published.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
I had to do it.
Oh, it wasn't in.
I mean, so it was in the Golf Plus section of Sports Illustrated.
What's that? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so it was not readily available, and it never got digitized. And I found it in an old email, because they would email it to you to proofread. And so I cut and pasted it out of this email and put it on Twitter.
Your email goes back to 20 whatever. What year was it?
2011.
2011. Your email goes back to. You must
2012.
You must not get that many emails.
That's a valuable inbox.
No, it's not even an active email. Like, it was a whole thing to get in there, to the whole recovery process. But it was worth it. I mean, I spent an hour trying to find it in other ways. It just didn't exist.
Man.
A couple other guys we didn't get to. Michael Thorbjornsen. This is a kid who's playing his first full season on the PGA Tour. Came out of Stanford. Won the PGA Tour U last year. So he did the Ludwig. Ludwig was the first one to do it. He's had amazing success. Thorbjornsen finished second. I think it was at the John Deere last year. So it's had already early success. He's got Lance Bennett on the bag, who was Tiger's caddy for the 3 events that he's played in the last couple of years. But he's made a sort of a business decision to go over to Michael Thorbjornsen's bag. Christian Bezuidenhout, I think it is.
Yeah.
He's at 4 under. Ryan Fox, who won last week. You want to talk about a fun golf swing to look at. Ryan Fox is like a Neiman style. He almost takes it back like John Daly, and then it's like Neiman on the way through. A ton of side bend. You know anything about the big Kiwi?
I don't, other than he's big and he's a Kiwi. But a delightful bloke. I mean, as all Kiwis tend to be good people. But no, I'd like to know more, because he looks like he should be playing for the All Blacks, you know?
Yeah, he's a big boy. Richard Bland, who's the senior PGA Championship. We've got a couple of older guys.
I mean, Blandy has passed into cult status at this point.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a cult favorite.
He is. And
he won 2 senior majors? I think he might have won 2.
And he hits it about 230 off the tee. It's incredible he's competing out here.
I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think Ryo Hisatsune is sticking around? I feel like he's just been around the past 7 weeks.
Where did he finish this week? He finished 3 under. I don't know. It depends if the water finds its level.
Yeah.
That's a joke, because he takes a sip of water before he putts every. And apparently it's moving back. Gabby Herzig was telling me that his caddy was saying that he's now starting to do it on his 20-yard chips. So they have to do this coordination where they give him the water, he drinks the water.
He's going to be holding his breath through the whole tunnel. The whole hole.
Do you remember John Rahm railing about not enough porta potties?
Yeah.
This could be a thing.
This could be a thing.
Wait, so who are you taking?
Scotty. I mean, I think we talked about the shadow leaderboard. I think Scotty's leading the shadow leaderboard. Garrett Higo and his new Malvin Fitz is -4. The guy I took yesterday
my pick.
in our draft was Ryan Gerard. He shot 1 over today. He's in at -4. Denny McCarthy. Nice to see him at -4, because I've been on the train that I want him on the Ryder Cup, because we need
make the
just the
start
putters.
last week too,
we need the putters, and Denny is so gritty, and he's kind of the best example of a guy that won't stop you in your tracks on the driving range. Not a big guy, doesn't hit it very far, but and I've asked him about it. What makes you such a great putter? Because putting is, someone described it to me this way: is if I put you on a perfectly flat, you have one of those perfect putting mats, you're going to make most of your 8-footers, right? It's not.
I feel like you're picking on me.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, what I'm saying is putting is the easiest thing. You can't hit it 325 yards straight down the middle. Maybe you can cut it at one point, but not anymore. And but you can make those putts. And so I said, what distinguishes you to where you're there every single year? And he said, it's a mentality thing.
Yeah,
he
it's
said,
like voodoo. It's like
he said, I grind. He said, I grind on every single putt, and I've taken pride in it since I was a kid. That maybe I'm gonna make up ground on everybody here, and I just want that mentality in the Ryder Cup. And I think a strong major championship is necessary for him. He's not one of these blue chippers who has the name recognition. He's gonna have to earn his way, and so this is a really, really big weekend for Denny McCarthy.
One of my pet peeves for 30 years, literally, is after every time the U.S. loses the Ryder Cup, they say, "Oh, they just out-putted us." We had no control over it. We had no ability to make the putts. making putts under pressure is a skill.
Yeah.
You have to make them.
Well, I'm thinking back to
it's
Medina.
Like, it's like, oh, there's nothing we could do. They just outputted us. You know what? You could have made more putts.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking back to Medina, and I think it was like Furyk and Stricker, our old guys, and their hands started shaking.
Big time.
Zach Johnson.
Yeah.
That quote, though, was kind of an aha moment for me. Like, grind it out. You know how fast I tend to play. Like,
You are the most
accident.
careless golfer I've ever seen.
I need to take.
It's almost
that
like
into-
you've played 6 holes, and you're like, we're not going anywhere. You know, there's still 12 to go.
I don't like holding people up.
You're very concerned about holding people up.
I'm going with Garrick Higo.
You're taking Garrick Higo over Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, just because I want a look good, feel good, play good. What do they call it? Cinderella story.
We need the Malbin's first major. You know?
Malbin's first major.
First guy wearing loose clothes in a long time.
He looked fantastic today. He was wearing Malbin clothes that haven't been necessarily seen yet, so it was like not like the classic Jason Day pick. Jason Day wore a terry cloth full short sleeve button down today that I know you would have really loved.
I'm trying not to wear polos on the golf course the rest of the year. I'm a big button down guy. One more name that I wanted to highlight, Tony Finau is at 3 under. Has not been a good year for him. Another guy who needs to get on his horse if he's going to make it into the Ryder Cup. JT Poston is at 4 under. I think we've probably now covered basically everyone on this leaderboard.
Can I tell you one funny Tony Finau story?
Please do. That's what we're here for.
I was asking about Rory because Rory actually spent a summer in Utah when he was like 10. He was 11 years old.
Really?
Yeah. I'm cannibalizing my book here, but he just through the Junior Worlds and the Orange Bowl in Florida, he became friends with Scott Pinkney, who was he lived in Utah, and so Finau lived down the road, and they became pals. And then they hadn't seen each other until the Junior Ryder Cup, like 3 or 4 years later. And Rory shows up, and he's got like all this product in his hair, and it's all curly out. And Finau goes, he says this to me yesterday. He's like, I said, "What did you think of the haircut?" And I was like, dang, Rory got Jerry curl. It's like the funniest thing ever.
I'm not gonna lie, I saw that on your computer in the media center yesterday. I just looked over and I just saw the word Jerry curl, and I was like, "What is he talking about, Jerry curl?"
And his delivery was A+. I'll never not think about Rory with Jerry curl ever again.
I want to hear that soundbite on your recorder.
Yeah,
That's
I'll
awesome.
play it for you. It's great.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, kind of a strange couple days here at Quail Hollow, or not here at Quail, here at Puttery, which has been a fantastic host for us this week. I'm going home tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow from the doghouse, from my house, doing a little Danny Appaport with all of you guys. It's been super fun chopping it up with you guys this week. We've had three different shows. We'll have the Monday recap per normal on Dan on Golf, but really good stuff. We're gonna try to do more of this at the majors moving forward. We're dialing in this sort of live setup. We really appreciate all you guys watching, following along. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about our show. It's a good show. And yeah, that's it. That's it from Charlotte. Thanks so much, guys.
Bye, sickos.
Thank you.